Hey everyone, my name is Valerie and today I want to show you a very cool tricks to create this 3D transparent gradient shapes in After Effects, and we're going to focus on how to make this process a bit easier on your computer, because we'll use the Cinema 4D renderer, which slows down drastically the computer, especially because we're adding the extrusion depth to the shape. But I do want to show you a few tricks and tips that will help you make this process a bit easier. Yeah, so with that said, let's get started. Alright, so let's start with creating our first composition, and let's make it full HD. Use the same settings as I do, but don't forget to switch the renderer to a Cinema 4D renderer so we can make the shape in a 3D. The first thing we want to do is to create the shape. So in this case we will use the ellipse tool. Just make sure it's without a stroke, and for the fill color set it to white. Now let's hold shift and create a nice sphere. Let's set the size to 600. If you don't see it here, you can change it from the layer. Alright, this is the same. And let's select this layer and align it to the composition. Okay, so the first step is done. Now the second step is we need to convert it to a 3D layer. So let's click here and click the 3D icon. And here we see that we are using the Cinema 4D renderer. Let's switch to a costume view 1 so we can see it from this angle. Now let's open the shape, alright, and open the geometry options so we can add the extrusion depth. Let's set it to 100. Alright, before we continue, I don't want your computer to struggle too much. So make sure to go to the render options either from here or click Ctrl or Command K, or from here, and switch it to the low number. Maybe in your case it set to 20 or 30, I don't know, set it to 15. Alright, now a very important step we need to do is to add colors for each part of the 3D shape we have here. So let's select the contents, alright, and only then go to add and go to front and add a color to the front. As you can see, we can't do it, and it's because we didn't tell After Effects to what shape we want to add the color, even if we selected contents. This is why open the contents, alright, and select the ellipse, like select the shape you have inside this content. Now if we go to front and select color, you can be able to do it. Set it to red. Now let's do the same for the side color, but very important to set it to a very contrasty color, like it needs to be very opposite. In our case we can set it to blue, and let's switch to the back view so we can see the back part of the shape, and go to back, select color and color it in a green color. Alright, now we can go back to active camera, and here we can see our shape. And now I want to create a nice rotation animation for it. I don't want to make something complex, because this is not the main idea of this tutorial. But very important thing I want to mention: if you want to create a rotations for a 3D shapes, you need to make sure that your anchor point is centered not only to the center of the of the shape from the front side. You need to go to the top view, alright, and then you want to place the anchor point, which is right now here. You want to place it in the center of the 3D shape now you have. So for this we will select the anchor point tool, and we will move the anchor point exactly 50 pixels. Why 50? Because the extrusion depth is 100 and 50 is in the middle of 100. Then let's switch back to the selection tool, and we can use the title save action grid, so we can see the center of the pre-comp, you see, and now we can center it exactly to the center like this, and we ready to go to active camera and start animating it. So let's select the layer, press R, and let's make a very simple animation. Let's set this to minus the X rotation axis to minus 45, and we will animate the Y rotation. So stand at the beginning, first keyframe with 0. Now let's make it last for 10 seconds and make it do one full rotation, which will look like this. Alright, so we have a nice rotation. If you want to preview your animation and your computer is struggling, then click on the draft 3D, which will make your scene preview very fast. And if you don't like the black color here, you can long click on it and then adjust the color of this background. Alright, so alright, our animation is ready, and now we're ready to move on to the next step, which is dividing each part. And what I mean by that you will understand in a second. Now we want to pre-compose this scene, this object we have here. We can call it shape. Alright, make sure both are checked here and click OK. And now our goal is to separate the front color from the side color and from the back color, and we can do it using key color effects we have in After Effects. So we can search for a key, and let's use the color key and apply this effect to our pre-comp. So now if I zoom in, I won't tell After Effects that I don't need to see this color. I want to see only this color. For this, I will select the eyedropper and sample this color. Great. Now I won't tell After Effects that I don't want the back color as well. For this, I will select the effect, press Ctrl D to duplicate it, and select this color as well. So now we have only the front color, which is great. But as you can see, we have some lines here live from the previous colors. To fix this, all we need to do is we need to scale the color tolerance to maximum. Alright, as you can see, we now don't see it, so let's do the same for the back part. Alright, so now we have a clean and nice animation or preview of the front color. So we need to do the same for the two remain parts. Of course, if you're using a cube, then you need to do it for each part of the cube. In our case, we have three like three-dimensional parts. So I'll duplicate it one more time. And before continuing, let's change the name to shape front, so we will know what part is this. And let's press enter and change the name here to side. And we can turn off the front color. And now let's also turn off the color effects here, so we can deal only with the side view. So first I want to get rid of this color. Alright, if I turn this on, you can see we don't have it here. Now for the back, we already set it to the right color, so we can just turn it on. Awesome, so now we have the side part ready. Now let's do it one last time for the back part. So I'll turn this off, I'll change the name to back, and I'll go here so I can see the back part. I'll turn this off, and I'll first get rid of the blue color, and now I'll go here and let's get rid of the front color. Great, so now we have the back color ready, and if we turn on all the shapes, all the parts, we will have a nice rotation animation and a nice separation of each part. And by doing that, we can now create pre-comp or any other layer. Let's say I want create now, let's say just for example, don't do it. I just want to show you why we separated the parts. So let's say if I have like a new shape here like this, I can now use the track matte functions to make this color grid that I created be visible only within the boundaries of the front shape. As you can see, now my front shape is colored in this color. So the same I can duplicate it, and I can make it the same for the side color. And for the side color I can switch the colors and make something better like this. But we will not use the shape layers for this. Usually what you want to do is you want to create a new composition, and you can call it, let's say, gradient animation, and hit OK. And let's say here you want to create some nice animation using a solid layer. You can use again the color gradient effect and animate this effect, or animate any gradient you want in any way but the most important thing I want to tell you, that when you animate and prepare your gradient animations for After Effects, is very difficult to preview and render the scenes, the gradients, especially if you add like another effects, or if you are creating another shapes inside your gradient animations. So what I want to tell you is I don't want you to use the original pre-comp you created on your shape. Okay, what I want you to do is to render your gradient animation and use it as a proxy. Okay, in the industry we call it proxy. And what the proxy method means is like when you render, you can render it in you can click here, and the best proxy will be like you need to render it in a high quality. So you can select here QuickTime and here animation. All right, it is nice quality, and then render it, and then use the render, like the proxy of this animation you created, instead the original pre-comp. It will make the render times much better, and After Effects will not struggle. Alright, so in my case I downloaded some nice gradient animation. I leave a link in the description for this asset if you want to use it. So this is our proxy right now, you see, and let's use it. And we actually don't need to create a different type of gradient animations to create something interesting. And let me show you what I mean. So let's bring it to the composition, and because this is a 4K resolution, I press S and let's scale it down to 50. And now, as we did earlier, let's drag the peak of the track matte to the front shape, and now we have this nice front shape with the gradient look, and it looks very nice. The next step we can do, as you can see, we can still have this very weird thing going on because of the rendering things. So especially if I want, let's add a hue and saturation effect to it, because I want it to be much more colorful. So I set the master saturation to, let's say, 80. Okay, it looks better in terms of colors, but I see this weird pixelizations happening. And to solve this, even if you rendered like not very high quality proxy, all you have to do to improve your gradients is you can add the Fastbox blur effect to it, and look what will happen. I will set it to a very low number, 15 it's enough, and look, immediately it looks much better. All right, so we're using our proxy and we improved the look of our proxy layer with a simple effect. So now we can duplicate this proxy layer, all right, and set it to be an alpha of the side view. But now I want to get some different variation of this gradient. So what I can do is I press R and I can rotate this layer, okay, 180 degrees, which is like a flip, and now I have different variation. Moreover, I can change the color here of this gradient. So I can set it to 90, the master hue, which will change the color, and it looks very nice. And now let's stand here in the timeline so we can see the back part, duplicate the proxy once again, set it as an alpha for the back part, and now we can press R and rotate it once again like this. But no, we will get like the front view, which is okay, but we can change the color here. So let's make it like this, and there you go. We now used one proxy layer to create a very different variations of the shape. Another thing you can do with your proxy layer is to create a very cool background that will fit the scene. So let's create a new solid, make it black, let's call it BG, make sure it's a comp size, and now let's add a gradient. And now I will show you a nice trick to use your proxy. So let's place this point here, let's set the ramp scatter to 20 to have a little bit better gradient, and let's say we want to color this color in blue. So now let's place it below. Now you can take again your proxy layer, let's scale it down, yeah, to get a different variation of it. You can also right click and flip it horizontally and do stuff that you want. But most important thing is now, because we have this gradient layer below it, we can use some other blending modes to make it look very unique, but with the same gradient animation, okay, which will cause this to fit your scene. So to switch quickly between the blending modes, all we need to do is hold shift and hit the plus or the minus keys, and yeah, see what we want to use. I use this technique a lot in all of my projects, client projects, personal projects. So yeah, I think Subtract looks good. You can also select the gradient and try to swap the colors, and it will give you a little bit different results. And in my opinion, it's a very nice trick to use one gradient animation that you already rendered, and you're not struggling while using the original pre-comp and create different results with one animation. Another thing you can do with your proxy is you can add a nice text in the scene. So let's add a nice text. Okay, so I'm using this font. I'll set it to 400, and I'll play around with the tracking and the leading and try to create something nice, something like this, -15, and I'll make sure its paragraph is centered, and let's align it to the center of the pre-comp, and let's place it below the shape, and we can also press S to scale it up like this. Now you can duplicate your again proxy animation. Let's set it to normal, and now you can set it to be as alpha of the text. So now you have the text also using this animation, and all together it looks very organic, because it's the same motion like of the gradient you created, or the gradient you are using. Okay, so you don't need to create like different types of gradients animation. You can create one, render it, and use it for the entire project. And yeah, of course you can add here the hue and saturation effect, and you can change the color of it if you want, like find some better variation for this. And you can of course also increase the colors as we did earlier. I actually leave it as it is. And of course, to make the gradient look better, you can again use the face box blur effect and set it to 15, and you have a very good result. Because this is a large layer, we can set it to 20 to get something a bit better. All right. And now for the final part of this tutorial, let's add the final touches for this scene, which is make this shape transparent and add some highlights for it. So for this, all we need to do is to play around. Let's play around with the front shape. Is play around with this property edge feather. So as you can see, if I scale it up to the maximum, we have some nice transparent parts here. So this one we used it to get rid of the back part. So you can try it also, to scale it up and see what works for you, what not. I don't actually figured it out yet, but play around with it, set it to 0 and see what it does. And yeah, so we can do it for the rest of the other parts of the shapes. Let's try this one for the side. Not good. Let's do this. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so you can see for the side part this one is better. Now let's do the same for the back part, which is this one, and see what can look better in our case. And this is this property for this effect. Yeah, as you can see, it looks very nice, especially with the bright color in the beginning here. Yeah, and now if you want to add a nice highlight to this thing, you actually need to add the highlights to your proxy layers. So here is the proxy for the front shape. So I right click on it, go to layer styles, and add an inner shadow effect. For now the shadow is black, so I'll change it to white, and I scale the opacity. And then to see the white color, we need to change the blending mode to screen. Now we see it. You can play around now with the position of the highlight, but in my case I prefer to set the distance to 0 and scale the size, which will create this nice look. I'll set it to 80, and yeah, I can now select it, press Ctrl C to copy it, and replace it, let's say in this area as well, of the side part, and I'll see if it looks well. I think it looks okay. Yeah, I can leave it, and let's place it here and paste it here as well in the back area. Of course, you can select the 3 proxies and search for layer styles, and then you can adjust the colors. Let's actually search for color here. Let's search for color so we can find all the colors. Yeah, so you can change the color of the back part to, let's say, to yellow. And yeah, check this out, see what looks great, what fits your design. And let's say for the side I don't like it, so I can turn this off for the side part. That's it. Or maybe I can, for the side part, we can make it actually a darker color. So let's use blue, and so we can see the blue color, we need to switch it to multiply. All right, and let's scale down a little bit the size because this part is smaller. All right, and for the first it actually look very nice. And now if you want to add a glow effect, for the glow effect you need to add the glow to the pre-comp, not to the proxy. You need to add it to the pre-comp of the shape. And now, as you can see, if I use the glow effect, I can get a nice glow. Let's try to put it here. It will get a bit different result only on the front. All right, so you see, if I put it here or here, it's going to change a little bit the design. So also make sure when you put it where you want to put it. I don't want to use glow. And yeah, I think with this we have finished. And let's see what we've got. And while your preview is rendering, I just want to say that creating cool effects, it's awesome. But if you are a total beginner or still feeling a bit unsure about making projects on your own, I totally recommend checking my online school. You will learn After Effects from the ground up the right way, covering all the key topics step by step and practicing what really matters to become a motion designer who can deliver client projects. You will get my support 24/7 plus a bunch of bonus stuff to help you on your creative journey. I leave a link below so you can check it out. Alright, I think it looks very nice. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, like this video, and if you want your life to be better, scroll down until you see a button named subscribe, click on it and subscribe to my channel. And with that said, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.